Welcome to another episode of the Underground Bunker Podcast. This is your proprietor, Tony Ortega, and as you can see, I'm joined once again by the wise beard man, Mark Bunker. Thanks for coming back, Mark.
My pleasure. Terribly exciting right now.
Well, I thought it was a good time to have you back because, as a matter of fact, it's not just the last day of summer. It's also another occasion is being marked tonight. You got a campaign going.
Yes, it's up and running. It's very exciting. I'm running for re-election to the Clearwater City Council, and it's going to be a challenging run. I know the big guns are going to be out to get rid of me, but I have faith in the folks out there who are following from all around the planet. That I've got people. And all throughout the rest of the galaxy as well, as Hubbard would say. So I know I've got people on my side. And actually, I was just out doing a very short video to announce my campaign. And as I was filming that, a guy came up to me and told me that he was a big supporter and that he has been watching me on the council and is impressed with everything that I'm doing, Scientology and otherwise, primarily otherwise, worrying about neighborhoods and things like that. So I've got his full support, and he's a big guy in the neighborhoods. So that's good to hear because, you don't always get a lot of feedback. So to know that folks, especially folks who are like tied into the community, it's nice to know that they're behind you.
Absolutely. And the election is in March again, is that right?
Yes, it's going to be mid-March. And then if I'm reelected, I would be back in office probably on the 1st of April next year.
Okay. So looking back at your first term, what would you say are some of the things that surprised you the most about actually doing the work of being a city councilman in Clearwater, Florida, that you did not realize going into it?
Well, gosh, I mean, there are surprises all the time, but I've gotten used to most of them now. So it is hard to come up with what really shocked me. I mean, it's interesting. Well, here's one of the first things that shocked me when I came in after first being elected, and they were giving me the information on here's what you do, here's where we are, and you got an office right there. And I said, okay, what are the office hours? I said, well, you can come in whenever you want. Oh, what? Okay, so it's nice that we're not in City Hall a lot. We have meetings there, and we but we're primarily out around the city going to meetings and talking to people. And I'm on a few different boards now, like the pension committee. And it has been really eye-opening to hear some of the cases of police officers who've been in these traumatic incidences and are going through shock, and the doctors have said, okay, time for him to leave the force. And it's so horrifying hearing what they go through. And you know that police and military, they have tough jobs, and they're going to see a lot of pain and misery. But it's still tough to hear the firsthand account of somebody who shot you or somebody who died right in front of you. So that has been surprising, and I think has been very helpful. I've tried to get to know the fire department and the EMT people. I've been working with them quite a bit, and there's always something around the corner. There's always new things we need to worry about that. I've never worried about before. For God's sakes, fixing sewers, all of these things that they come before us, and we get a lot of background material. We read up on it, and we make a decision. Sometimes it's hard to believe that, oh yeah, I'm one of the guys making the big decisions for the city. What are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about, what are we going to build there? So I'm used to being a wise beard man. And it's really satisfying, and I'm happy that I can give to the community whatever I can.
Well, I mean, one of the things that struck me the most about seeing you in action with the Scientology stuff was that you were always so thoughtful and compassionate. Some of us are a bunch of hotheads out there, and we react to things, and it gets kind of testy out there. And we could always count on Mark Bunker to keep his head cool and see both sides. And so I would imagine that that's the kind of work that would agree with you, because it takes some judgment. It takes some you've got to be calm. You've got to see the whole field, and it just seems like they got a good guy in you.
Well, thank you. What I feel I've brought to the council is some level of humanity. I am not the most knowledgeable on every field, but I'm willing to ask dumb questions that anyone else would ask to find out, what's going on. And believe me, I can ask some dumb questions. But I also am always interested in the human aspect of the story. And I've had a lot of people thank me for that. This fellow came up to me tonight, appreciated that. One of the assistant city managers has told me, those were really great, powerful things you said tonight. Not about Scientology ever, but on other issues. So that's nice to hear, because you don't really know how it's going over in the public. We've got a tough road ahead of us with this re-election campaign, because on one level it looks like there's been nothing but chaos, and on another there really hasn't. We're rolling along, but when we got elected, first thing that happened, it was COVID lockdown.
Right.
And so for 2 years, we couldn't get out in the public really and mingle with people. And we had unique challenges of trying to keep people alive back then, keep businesses open. And there's not a lot as a city that you can do, because that type of aid normally comes from the federal and state. The cities are there to collect the garbage and keep things moving.
Right.
But we came up with some programs to help people get some free meals, and we were all out there at the Salvation Army handing out turkeys and things like that. So we went through that. And one of the first things we had to do was hire a new city manager and a new city attorney. And our city manager had been with us for 21 years, I think. And he was retiring, getting ready for that, getting ready for he and his wife to have a wonderful retirement. And then he died right after playing golf with our mayor at the time. So we've been trying to rebuild. I think we've got a really terrific city attorney. I'm very proud of his hire. The first city manager that we hired, we fired after a year. I liked the guy, John Jennings.
I know you did, yeah.
And he was thinking he could deal with Scientology and he can strike a deal with Miscavige because he knows these big egos. So I was giving him a lot of rope, and still supporting him. But the rest of the council were very upset that there was not a lot of communication that was there. So we started again. And we have a new city manager who's our old human resources head, and she is really terrific. She's dealing with crises every day. Like the biggest thing, like a couple of weeks ago, the sprinklers broke in our public library, our main public library down by the bluffs, and the entire building was flooded.
Oh.
And that's where we have our council chambers now. So we can't do meetings there. We had to scramble at the last second to find a new place to do meetings. And the team that we have working in the city are pretty remarkable because they made arrangements for us to take over the stage of the Capitol Theater downtown, and the AV guys were able to videotape it and get it out to the public. So it went over fairly smoothly, and that was the first time that I actually had a chance to chair the meeting because our mayor couldn't be there that night. So it was a little unusual to be in a new space and trying out new things. But I'm glad I had a chance to do it because I showed up at our pension board committee last week and they said, "Oh, the chairman isn't here. You're going to have to run the meeting." I went, "Okay, I got this." So it's nice to know that okay, I can handle it. That said, people say, "Hey, why don't you run for mayor?" And we've got a woman that is on the council with me, Kathleen Beckman, that I have been impressed with from the get-go, and she's running for mayor. And I think the two of us being there, hopefully getting a third person, can really make a difference in the city. We have rested. This is all political stuff that you folks out there probably don't care about at all. Where's the Scientology? But just quickly, it's the good old boys that have been running the city for ages, as it is in most places. But we've kind of taken it back from the establishment and brought it back to the neighborhoods. And that's something that I'm proudest of, that we're caring more about the people than the developers. And I'm happy to see that Kathleen's stepping up, and I think she's got a really good shot at becoming mayor.
And anybody else
on Scientology? Probably not. But
anybody else announced for the seat you're running for?
Yeah, there have been a few people. I've heard about two. One is a guy that I know.
Okay.
I see him at various meetings from time to time. Mike is his last name is something like Mastrotodio or something. I'm not really sure, and I apologize. Okay. But he's not a fan of Scientology, and he would come up and tell me so at the meetings. It was interesting to see him running against me, because it would be much better to have a second strong voice on Scientology in the other seat.
Right.
And I'm not really worried about it, because this is a guy who, when I was at an Amplified Clearwater dinner not too long ago, a couple months back, he came up to me after the dinner, and we're all kind of mingling around, and he's saying, "I don't like the fact that the Scientologists they have a big table up front, and they're part of the Amplified Clearwater. They're not a business." And I said, "Oh, I'll check into it." So I went up to the head of Amplified Clearwater, our Chamber of Commerce, and said, "Hey, what's the deal with this? Why are they part of this when they are the problem downtown?" Right. You have to admit, right, that Scientology is the reason why we're struggling. "Well, we can't discriminate." But when he filed, I was looking at him online shortly before this, and I saw he's part of Amplify Clearwater. He's within the group. Why isn't he going to them and talking to them and saying, let's do something about this, and instead of coming up to me going, oh, this sucks. So we'll see. It is a shame that we can't get a strong voice in the other chair. We might. One of the guys who went up against me last time, Mike Menino, was an incredibly strong candidate, and I frankly thought he would beat me. He was willing to mention Scientology because he knew he had to go up against me, and he wasn't going to keep his mouth shut about it, which most other candidates did. So if he gets into seat 3, he may be an ally. He's certainly not an enemy. During our first campaign against one another, I had great respect for him, and I think it went both ways. Although I know he and his wife are not happy when I won, but I think that would be great if he gets elected. There's some other folks. I think there's at least 3 for each of these open races again, which is important because the fact that it was a 3-way race. Oh no, last time it was a 5-way race that I was in, and I won with like 33% of the vote or something like that. And there were some of the establishment on the council at the time who said, let's change the rules. You have to have 50%. We're going to put in runoffs. And, I fought back against that, saying, well, if all of these people like you who are tied in with the movers and shakers in the business community, you have all the money in the world. For someone who is not part of that scene, we're at a huge disadvantage. If I had to pay for a runoff after I won that first part, I couldn't have
and
won.
The city has to.
They didn't say it, but that's the point.
And the city has to pay for the runoff. I mean, it's something that's not. It's an added expense to an already existing system.
Right. It would add another $100,000, something like that, for them to hold a runoff. But we did vote finally to consider that and make that happen after my second term's over. So it's not going to affect me in this race.
I see.
If we have a 3-person or a 5-person run this time, it's
still a plurality.
And I still think it sucks for those folks in minority communities or folks who don't have big backers. It's going to make it really difficult for them.
So the situation is that you're announcing right now for your reelection, but you do have competition. And obviously people know that you're most well known for the Scientology issue. But what about, you need a plurality. You need people to vote for you who aren't necessarily that interested in the Scientology issue.
Mm-hmm.
What do you offer those folks as far as the things that you've done in the last 4 years? As somebody that had a lot of different issues he had to face during his term.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I'm more interested in helping individuals while still, being business friendly. One of the biggest challenges we had was to get the citizens to approve developing properties on our bluff. Amplify Clearwater, and some of those folks were behind this campaign, Yes for Clearwater. And they privately came to me and said, Mark, we need you to get out the word that Scientology is not part of this. So I did that. And I think that was a big help. Okay, that's Scientology related. But, that's a situation where they wanted me to speak out, but they didn't want to be attached to it.
Mm.
Okay, here's a quote for the website. We're not going to put that up. But at any rate, looking back to 2000, when we had a similar referendum question, it was voted down because people thought it's just going to benefit Scientology. So the neighborhood things are important. Like we've talked about this before. Drew Street. There's a stretch of Drew Street, very busy street in the city, and it's dangerous in this neighborhood. And after 7 years of them begging, we were able to get that approved and moved forward. And I think issues like that help. I've been trying to help with some things that will piss off parts of the electorate. Like there's a women's clinic that has been heavily hit by protesters, and I helped them create a buffer zone to give the women and the people who work there a safer way to get in and out. And still, the protesters still get their voices heard. It's not stopping free speech. I know I've upset a lot of people on the pro-life side. So it's not the type of thing I can go out and trumpet necessarily, but the women that I helped were incredibly appreciative and said that we want to help you get reelected and all this kind of stuff. So
I don't know, Mark. I don't know, with abortion under assault in this country, maybe that is an issue that's a little bit more something you could talk about publicly than in past years.
Probably is.
Because I think people in the middle are concerned about the way that's going. So, but I know that's a big issue there with that particular clinic. So it's interesting.
And here's an interesting Scientology connection. Because this pro-life group is suing the city, we had to hire an attorney to represent the city, and we hired Luc Leroux, who has been a noted First Amendment lawyer here, who has dealt with a lot of Scientology stuff.
Yeah.
And he had the hearing on that on Thursday, and I don't know, when the judge is going to come down with a ruling on that. But I contacted Luke and said, hey, would you like to help me get rid of this injunction? And he wrote back, oh my God, yes, we'd be happy to do that. So, I talked to our city attorney about it and said, well, because we paid him for this, he can't do it for free. You're gonna have to pay him. So we'll raise the money to have him do this, and we'll get rid of that 20-some-year-old injunction that people have been Scientology has been trying to use against anyone who protests since 2000.
Right. That'll be great. I mean, I know it's been this bizarre battle where, anytime there's a Scientologist within 10 feet of you, they scream bloody murder because you're breaking the court rules or whatever. But we know it's just an exaggeration by Scientology.
Yeah, funny how they do that.
Well, let's talk about Scientology for a minute. I mean, I would say that
it's about time. Sorry.
I would say that, when you came in, Scientology had just increased its control of downtown Clearwater, and but in the time since you've been in, even though you were endorsing this sort of ignore them and move on with progress view, it seems to me like Scientology's been stymied quite a bit under your tenure. They have not been able to do all the things they want to do, and life is coming back to downtown Clearwater, from what I hear.
It is. When I went out to do my little video just now to say I'm running for re-election, I went down to Coachman Park, and there were plenty of people wandering around and enjoying the park there, and that was nice to see. And when we have a concert, there's tens, thousands of people there. It's so exciting. So I'm happy about that. Miscavige thought the moment a new council was elected, he'd be able to swoop in and get that CMA property, and no, he hasn't yet. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not going to happen until he comes through with everything he promised he would do for the city. I see they are making progress now. Miscavige snapped his fingers, and the Scientologist owners of 3 of the buildings on Cleveland Street have started refurbishing. And
Okay.
there's one under heavy refurbishing right now, but it's
Right.
clearly, there's a video on their website, Cleveland Street Alliance, I think is the name of it, where they show you the beautiful, majestic way they're restoring these buildings so lovingly. And it's clearly right from the Scientology shop. It's the same type of videos that they churn out all the time. I'll be interested to see once they open these buildings, if they put a business in them. Okay, we got another pretty building. Will they allow anything to thrive there? And also, I'll be interested to see, can I walk through the door?
Yeah.
There's not an injunction at any of those places. The fact that Scientology is making a big stink about, bunker can't, like in that meeting we had of the Downtown Development Board, where the non-Scientologist attorney said, oh, you may be too close to the Scientologist. It's like insanity. And the vice mayor of the city, who's sitting on the board, is not allowed to, to be there. It's truly insane.
Well,
and that's what we've been dealing with since 1975.
Yes, but I love your sense of humor about it, and the fact that you're keeping us all aware of it, and you're actually saying things about it in the meetings. All of that matters. We used to just wait and wait for some little thing to happen in Clearwater to notice, and now there's just plenty of stuff, and it's always involves you. So we need you. We need you to stick around, man.
And I always like to give updates. Like, I didn't really plan any comments for the end of our meeting last night.
Yeah.
So I thought, hey, you know what? I just saw this video from Leah Remedy saying that the LAPD chief shrugged his shoulders when he was told that the Sea Org members and staff can't call 911, that is blocked. And I said, well, I hope that because the Sea Org members here have their mail read and their calls listened to. I certainly hope if they're blocking 911 here, that our chief of police does more than shrug his shoulders.
Yeah, incredible.
And I could see some of the people in the upper management of the city going, but I think it's important to educate people and to try to push to see if we can get something done. It is so frustrating because even when I manage to get some action, it's always, I hate to say half-assed, but like when we saw the buses filled with Sea Org members crammed together at the start of COVID, and I had the chief of police at that point go around and actually do a safety check and a welfare check. Scientology would get advance notice, so of course they're cleaning up the place. So of course, if they're doing a welfare check on a Scientologist over at Hacienda Gardens, they have 3 days to get everything straightened up and look nice and clean and hide all the extra bunk beds. And so it's frustrating. Aaron did a video last year about these outer orgs, like from Chicago, coming in for training at Flag, and there'd be 12 people crammed into one crappy little
Dorm room?
hotel room. Yeah. and there was video of that Aaron played part of, and I immediately sent that to the police and said, we have to do a check. And of course, they waited.
Yeah.
Scientology was able to clean everything up. I don't think that they're doing it on purpose because they want to support Scientology. I think it's, well, I mean, this is a polite way to run these type of things. We can't be polite when it comes to the nasty way that Scientology runs their organization.
Yeah.
This is a criminal enterprise, and I have to say that more often.
Yeah. So what can the viewers of the Underground Bunker podcast, readers of the Substack do to help your campaign and get you reelected?
Well, definitely, if you want to go to our donation page, we've got a link up to that now. I have it on Facebook, and I sent you a link to it. If you'd like to make a donation, if you're anywhere in the United States, we can't accept money from overseas, but if you'd like to help contribute to funding this race, it's going to be so important because, unlike last time, they're spending a ton of money to get rid of me. They're aiming missiles at me this time. So I'm hoping that I have the support of the fire department, which I have been a huge backer of the fire department. Last time when I met with all of the Friends of the Police and the fire union and all of these different companies that we talk with as we're running for office, I told them, listen, I don't expect you to endorse me. No one's going to endorse me, but I endorse you. You've got my support. And I have really followed through with the fire people for that. It would be really wonderful if I could get their support. I think that would mean a lot to the citizens, to say that, well, he's not just a loudmouth bum. He's a loudmouth bum that's doing something good.
There you go.
And
I see a bumper sticker. I see a bumper sticker.
Yes. There's plenty of sarcastic things that we could be putting on shirts and selling, and I'm very tempted. But it's I'm really looking forward to the race. It's going to be it's going to be over in a flash because these 4 years have been, and it's also going to seem like an eternity as we're out there on the campaign trail. In the end, I'm hoping to be a much better candidate than I was the first time, and that more people in the community have felt what the man tonight told me, that they've been listening to me and they've been appreciating the things I've been saying, that they come from a moral base, and so that's all I can hope.
Well, I hope you save a stem winder for one of the nights at Winter Wonderland, because I think that's going to get you, that's going to get you the big numbers, is if you can join Santa Claus at Winter Wonderland coming up and make your big speech. All right, Mark.
All right. Well, I've got a lot of advance notice now to work on that.
Okay, you work on that. I'll work on a bumper sticker. And readers of the bunker, you know what to do. Let's help Mark Bunker get reelected city councilman, Clearwater, Florida. All right. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, Tony.
Talk to you later.
Bye.